Glenn. 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 What kind of Kool-Aid did you drink, Glenn? What kind of Kool-Aid did you drink? Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Dr. Corey Hall. I am a pianist, as you can see here, and I'm also a musicologist. Along with my doctorate in piano performance, I earned a master's in musicology, so I'm very interested in music history and historic performance, or historical performance, however you want to say that. And for over 30 years now, I have been researching Bach's tempos. And way back in the 1990s, in 1992 and 93 and 94, in those years there, I was developing my own unique analytical system that makes it possible to determine the tempos that Bach intended for virtually all of his music. I know this sounds too good to be true, but it is true. I've proven statistically the tempos that Bach planned for virtually all of his music. And so I want to discuss a fugue today that's been, I've been debating about this fugue for years, many years, okay? This is the fugue in C sharp major from Book 2 of Bach. And it's very interesting. You know, this is one of the few pieces in the well-tempered clavier that gave me problems. I couldn't figure out, is it slow or is it fast? You know, and I listened to performances and they don't give me any clue either. I hear, you know, Joe pianist here playing it fast, Joe pianist here playing it slow, Joe pianist here playing it at a medium speed. What is it? Is it slow or fast? Well, you might think that it doesn't matter, and it probably doesn't matter. I mean, this fugue can sound okay in a variety of tempos, but my concern as a pianist and a musicologist and somebody who's very concerned about historical authenticity, I've always been trying to figure out whether Bach wanted this fast or slow or somewhere in between. And the best I can do is my analytical method. My analytical method that I developed way back in 1992, and pretty much over those years in the 90s that I developed it. It allows me to look into Bach's plan for these preludes and fugues, and you know, you can sort of figure out by process of elimination what Bach intended, whether he wanted it fast or slow. So what I have for you today is a very interesting video, a really interesting, very fascinating video to me. I've chosen two performances of this fugue. One by a pianist who I am not familiar with. His name is Anton Meijas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He is a Deutsche Grammophon artist. Okay, so I don't really know anything about Mr. Meijas yet, but you know, he's a great pianist, of course. I mean, to get a contract with Deutsche Grammophon, you have to be great. So he plays the fugue really fast. He plays the fugue like at about 80 per quarter note. And then there's Glenn Gould. Glenn Gould plays, well, can you guess how fast Glenn Gould plays this fugue? Okay, Anton Meijas plays it at 80 beats per minute. Glenn Gould plays it at 40 beats per minute, exactly half the speed of Meijas. What is it? Is it slow or is it fast? I don't know. Let's listen and try to figure that out. This is a live performance. I'll just let it play all the way. Pretty fast. Okay, just so you know, his timing for this fugue is 1 minute and 48 seconds. I think it's a very good performance, of course, from a great pianist. But it's fast. And actually, I'll have to admit, I used to play it somewhat like this. Not quite this fast, but years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago, I used to play this fugue really fast. But now I'm at a different opinion. Oh, I've given you a spoiler alert now. Now let's listen to the very famous Glenn Gould play this fugue. It's a studio recording, and I am not sure what year it comes from. Oh, Glenn. Glenn, what kind of Kool-Aid did you drink, Glenn? What kind of Kool-Aid did you drink? There we go. You know, it's funny, I listen to this, and you probably do too. You think, oh, that guy's crazy. He's crazy. He just wants to shake up the establishment and provoke everyone. So let me just recap here. We have Glenn Gould playing 40 beats per minute. Glenn Gould's performance of this fugue lasts 3 minutes and 28 seconds, almost 3.5 minutes. Meijas 1:48, basically a 1-to-2 ratio there. So Meijas plays it twice the speed of Gould. Now, are they doing that because that's the only way they can do it? Or are they doing that because they want to do it that way? Well, of course, they do it because they want to. They don't have to. So a virtuoso pianist who can play anything he wants, as fast as he wants, anytime he wants, must be careful with Bach preludes and fugues, because I explain in my book, In Tempo and Duration in the Music of Bach, I have a chapter that discusses music history. I make it very clear, and everyone knows this. This is common knowledge among historians, that tempos sped up dramatically over the 19th century, particularly over the years 1820 and 1830 and 1840. So going into the Romantic era, you have 19th century tempos. And unfortunately, many of those 19th century tempos have been applied to non-19th century music, like music that came 100 years before 19th century music, like Bach's music. So, seen in this light, do you really think it's appropriate to play this fugue as fast as Meijas played it. No. I was wrong 15 years ago. I think Meijas is wrong. I'm going to put the metronome on 80, and I'm going to play it sort of, make it sound like Meijas did. So I'm showing off enough here for you there. Okay, so there we go. Of course, he did it better than I did, but you can hear that it's a very frantic kind of tempo. Okay, now I'm going to do Gould. I'm going to be like Gould now. I'm going to put it on 40, and I'm going to pretend like I'm Glenn Gould. Okay, so I did it like in a quasi Glenn Gould fashion here. It sounds silly. It does. It sounds silly. I mean, who would play like that? I mean, who plays like that? Who does that? Come on. Okay, here's my opinion on, you're probably wondering about who's more right. Okay, as far as tempo goes, the actual tempo, the speed, Glenn Gould is more right. He's closer. Actually, he's pretty close. He's not, Glenn Gould actually is not that much slower than the way I think it should be. I've changed my opinion on this fugue over the many years I've studied it, and you really have to see the whole analysis. You have to understand how the fugue and the prelude are related. I know I'm not talking about the prelude in this video, which is why you should probably get my book to find out more about it. But you have to really analyze the prelude and the fugue together, their number of measures, and how long they last. Bach's whole system of composition was all tied up with tempo and timings. Bach was, he really liked to control his tempo and timings. They weren't, they weren't just sort of at random. So my recent analysis of this fugue has led me to the conclusion that it is relatively slow. Okay, it's not quite as slow as Gould played it, but it's substantially slower than the way Meijas plays it, and also slower than almost all other pianists play it. I happen to believe that it's not that fast of a tempo, and the thing that indicates that is the 30-second notes before the end. Have you ever tried to play those? I mean, they're not easy. Okay, let's look at measure 30. Okay, let's look at the measure. I'm going to just take it slowly. I'm going to play from measure 30. So you have a slow tempo, slow, nice sort of andante 16th notes. And then you have your 30-second notes there, which actually go pretty quickly. even if you play it slow, I mean, for the average pianist, this is going to be very difficult. Bach did not write the well-tempered clavier for the 0.5% of the virtuosos of the world to be able to play it and nobody else to play it. See, Bach, I discuss in my book that Bach did not intend these kinds of pieces to be virtuoso music, you know, like 19th century etude style music. But that seems to be how Meijas is playing it. He's playing it like a 19th century etude, as fast as he can, and it just doesn't make any musical sense when it goes by so fast. Now, at the other extreme, Glenn Gould just breaks everything up with his very pointillistic style. I mean, I think I prefer Glenn Gould's over Meijas, but still, it sounds a little wacky the way that, you know, Gould is always doing his funny articulations and things. So the way that, I mean, I'm just more normal, okay? I just play it normal. Why do you have to hack it all up like Gould? Okay, so here's how I would do it. And here's how I believe Bach wanted it. You have to also understand the prelude, like I said. Usually, Bach's standard operating procedure was if the fugue was fast or allegro, then, or if the prelude was fast or allegro, like here, the second section of the prelude is allegro in 3/8, then the fugue is most often slower. But if the other way around, usually if Bach had a slower prelude, most of the time the fugue is a little faster. Because Bach loved contrast, and he loved to display different modes, different characters, and different affects in the whole of the prelude and fugue. See, so it's actually rare. It's actually very rare, or relatively rare, where that Bach has a fast prelude followed by a fast fugue. It's just doesn't happen very often. He's usually they contrast. So this is one reason that has led me to the conclusion that the fugue is slower rather than faster, because you have to understand where it's coming from. It doesn't make a whole lot of musical sense if you're coming from an allegro, right? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1. It's pretty fast. It's allegro. Now, it wouldn't make any sense if you ended that and actually, it makes more musical sense if you do, because it sounds the same. Makes more musical sense if you do this. Okay, you end the prelude. Yeah. That was a little faster than Gould did. That was probably about maybe 15% faster. So not a terrible amount faster than Gould. But what I did was I made it a little faster than Gould, and I made it mostly legato, predominantly legato. The reason why, I know it sounds slow. If you're used to fast performances of this, yes, that sounds too slow. So before you write a nasty comment, or you probably did already, but before you leave a nasty comment about, oh, this is terrible, it's too slow, try to play measure 30 all the way to the end and see how fast you can do that. So I'm going to take this tempo. I'm going to take a nice majestic andante here, and up the end there. Did you hear how it fits perfectly that way? So now what Gould does is this. Gould's tempo is so slow that he plays those 30 seconds detached. So Gould does more like this. So Gould does that. So he has to play it slower because he detaches all those notes. But if you play it maybe just about 15% faster than Gould, and you can hear that end. You know, if you know Bach's organ music, this will ring a bell with you. This sounds very organistic in its style here. And that implies a legato touch, and it also implies a tempo that's not too fast. Not too fast. So this is my conclusion of this fugue. I believe in, at least now in 2025, in July, as I'm making this video, I have come to the conclusion that this fugue is slower rather than faster. And like I said, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago, I think, I would have played this much faster, like maybe almost as fast as Meijas plays it here. But over the years, as I've been studying Bach's music, I've come to the conclusion that this fugue is slower rather than faster. So I guess Glenn Gould won. If it were a competition between Meijas and Gould, Gould would get the prize, although it still sounds a little wacky, I think, to my ears, but it's interesting. It's very kind of clinical piano playing. You know, if you can kind of imagine what that sounds like. Very clinical. You know, everything is very articulated and figured out. But I think that this fugue speaks more. It speaks better. The music speaks for itself if you play it more legato than staccato. So I wouldn't recommend going overboard with your staccatos in this. Keep it mainly legato, but yeah, there's some places to do some staccato eighth notes, but I wouldn't become obsessed with it because I've tried everything. I've played this staccato, I've played it legato, I've played it everything in between, I've played it fast, I've played it slow, and now I'll tell you that I think it should probably be slower rather than faster. So thank you for joining me in this video, and if you're interested in this topic, definitely get my book, Tempo and Duration in the Music of Bach. I think you might learn something from that. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.